Hey, what's going on, everybody? I want to talk about the singing of the uh, Black National Anthem at the Super Bowl, and I also want to talk about some other things that I consider relatable. I was driving in my car this morning, and and I was having these thoughts, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna make a little video about this. Um, so I know there's some controversy, of course, as always. Anytime you have something that's considered black and white people, right? That's it says America runs on Duncan. No, America runs on racism. That keeps America running. The constant mentioning of race and talking about politics between the white and black. That's what America runs on. America runs on racism, right? You have a cup of racism in the morning, you're ready to go. That's what that's what America runs on. The constant mentioning of race, the constant uh, pointing out of color, uh, the constant um, crying of somebody about some kind of offense or racist remark that was made or something something like that is constant. America has a sweet blend of racism, uh, that is just that knock your socks off. so, so if you haven't been to America, come come experience this this overflowing, constant mentioning of race and comparison and of constantly. But anyway, back to the singing of the Black National Anthem. My issue with it is that, listen, black people, you have to make up your mind, right? Are you going to be in your own society, right? Or are you going to be part of the larger in the one society? All right, because if you're going to separate and have your own society, then it makes sense, right? You have your own national anthem, you can have your own pledge of allegiance, etc. And shoot, after all, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was correct when he was calling for separation years and years ago. If that's the case, so it's like he made a real big circle just to come back to what he was saying, um, decades and decades ago. But it does not make sense to um, act like you're separate from the larger society, but then um, participate in the larger society as a whole. It doesn't make sense. So, for instance, to go to the Super Bowl, right, which is basically 99% owned by white people, as you can see the chart up here, and then sing the Black National Anthem as if you're making some kind of statement is ridiculous, because at the end of the day, you were allowed to perform that. If they said no, we don't want you to sing that, then you wouldn't be singing. The only reason you're allowed to sing that is because of this well, it's rapidly fading, but this woke idea of we have to pander to as many um um specialist groups as we can. So if it's the LGBTQ, we have to pander to them. If it's the feminists, we have to pander to them. All of these splinter groups. So you're pulling yourself in hundreds of different ways, trying to make each and every little group happy. So this is like, oh, this will make all the blacks happy. Okay, we want them to watch. We want them to buy our products. So let's allow the Black National Anthem, right? But it's a ridiculous idea, because if you're American, there is only one national anthem. And again, just think about it. Of course, we know, and we've been told many times and for many years, this country, right, is full of immigrants. We all get it, right? Some of our parents might have lived in this country, but their parents might not have lived in this country, and they might have came from, say, like Italy or Germany or Venezuela, Mexico, what have you, Ireland, you name it. But no one, once they come to this country and take that oath, they're Americans now. They're not walking around saying, "Hey, I'm Italian American. Hey, I'm a Polish American. I'm Chinese American. I'm Japanese American." Nobody is doing that. Why do black people, why on the job application, why only black people have African American as a choice? That's the only choice where that is brought up, is when it comes to black people, African American. I don't see a box for Irish American, Polish American, Chinese American, anything else. I see a box for African American. Do you even know where the term came from? African American is a relatively new term that was just made up by Jesse Jackson in 1988, who decided that black was no longer a good term to use, and that since many blacks, genetically had their roots in Africa, that we should just use that term African American instead of black. And I'll keep it real. I don't know many people today, black people that is, that use that term. That's a term that's just been pushed upon us, like a lot of stuff that a lot of blacks don't agree with, but it's been pushed upon by liberals who, of course, are run by whites. Remember, Malcolm X said, "Watch the white liberals," and he uses that analogy, right, with the fox and the wolf. Right? They're both gonna eat you. Right? You talking about Republicans and Democrats, right? They're both trying to eat you, but one's just gonna be more friendly about it, more conniving about it. Right? The liberal is the fox. They'll befriend you. Hey, they're gonna side with you. They're gonna cry with you. They're gonna do whatever they have to do. They'll shed those crocodile tears with you. Oh, you had it so hard. Slavery. We're so sorry what we did to your people. Here, take this welfare and take these projects, and you live in these projects, and we'll make sure the rent is low so you and your family can stay there for generations after generations of projects. Don't worry about it. So this term African American, something that was coined by Jesse Jackson in 1988, not to be confused with Afro American, which was something that was used in the 60s, right? The whole Black Power, black is beautiful, and black and I'm proud. Afro American was a term that was used, and basically the origin of these type of terms, or I'm sorry, the reason for these type of terms were that the other terms, were thought to have some kind of bad connections or bad connotations to them, right? So, for instance, like at one point, certain black scholars thought that, hey, the term black was always connected with some kind of negativity, right? Evil, for instance, right? For instance, people would say, "Oh, you have a dark cloud over your head," right? Darkness, evil, black. So they didn't want to use the term black. Right, so they said, you know what, we'll use colored, right? So colored was used for a while, but then colored became synonymous with, colored bathrooms, right? Colored stand over here, et cetera, et cetera. So it was like trying to, these new terms came about as a way of trying to get away from the negativity associated with the older terms. So after, say, terms like Negro and colored were no longer in style, people went back to using black. I'm black and I'm proud. So they shook off this idea that it's negative somehow, and I'm black and I'm proud, right? And through the 60s, and then, other scholars, hey, let's use Afro-American, et cetera, et cetera. So later on, 88, which is not too long ago, if you think about it, Jesse Jackson said, hey, we want to use this term. He said black people preferred to be called African American. All right, because it has quote cultural integrity. Now there was no vote, right? I don't remember any black vote saying, "Hey, what do you guys want to be called?" or anything like that. But this is another term that I detest for the same reason as I didn't enjoy the Black National Anthem being sung at the Super Bowl, because at its core, it's basically saying, "Hey, I'm not American somehow. I'm not fully connected to this country, right? They're American, like as I say, like full American, but I'm African American. I'm not all the way American. I'm not fully accepted in this country. I'm not fully participating in the blessings in this country." Yeah, some people are behind their screen saying, "Well, wait, that's kind of true because slavery and Jim Crow and all this stuff, and look at our history." And some people are saying this. Look what happened to George Floyd. It's still going on today, right? And so you have people, that feel that way about it. But personally, I feel that it's dubious. The idea is dubious because if you look at the history, black people are, speaking of immigrants, right? Black people have been here for the longest of any of the immigrants, right? They've been here the longest. They talk about 1619, right? That's like kind of like one of the first recordings of slavery. 20 some odd Negroes and all that stuff like that. But there's been other. That's the American history, right? If you look at some of the Spanish history, right? Because you got to remember, Spanish was over here. Spain was over here also colonizing the Americas. And you got to remember there were a lot of Africans that had Spanish names also that weren't counted. So, for instance, even though 1619 is like the big year where it's like, okay, these were kind of like the first slaves came, you had people that came over that weren't slaves. You had people, blacks that came with the Dutch. And even today, this is how you have some black people with Dutch surnames. Some of you have heard of the old Los Angeles Laker basketball player, for instance, Nick Van Exel, Dutch surname. You had one of the earliest recordings of a black Spanish black, right, who was an African who traveled with the explorer Ponce de Leon in 1513. In Florida, named Juan Garrido. So you had blacks here for as long as before the foundation of the United States of America. Then after that, right, you have the whole transatlantic slave trade, where it's well documented how the economy was built on the backs of slave labor and black people in general, right? We know this. Then you go to the various wars with the Civil War, right? Blacks fought in the Civil War on both sides. Blacks fought in the war for independence against the British. The blacks fought on both sides. Did you know that blacks fought for the British? blacks fought in the Revolution too, right? Basically, whoever's promising freedom, the blacks also fought in the Civil War. Some fought in the Union side, some fought in the Confederate side. Blacks fought in every war. That's what I'm saying. So when I say I'm American, it's not any kind of like sellout way. Like I'm American, ignoring the history and all the stuff. I'm embracing the history. I'm saying we earned every right to call ourselves American. Why would you diminish that after all the contributions? I know you guys have family members that are serving the military right now. I'm sure you have grandfathers, great grandfathers that fought in World War II. Right? You have the old military pictures in black and white. My grandfather was in the Army in World War II. My uncle was in the Navy. I have another uncle that fought in Vietnam. You think I'm going to be like, oh, I'm not American? Or diminish that by putting some kind of hyphen? Or I'm African American. I'm partly I got one foot in the country in America, one foot in Africa. No. I have every right to embrace the benefits and blessings of this country as any other person. Am I saying, oh, deny your heritage? No. But like I said, nobody else is walking around like this. I'm Polish American. I'm Italian American. I'm Russian American. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's engaging in such foolishness. Only black people are doing this. Engaging in such foolishness. That to the fact that it's on job applications. It says put your race, and then it have like white, black, kid, do not mention, don't want to mention, and then it'd be like African American. Some nonsense. This is absolute rubbish. We are Americans. We had the ancestry to prove it. Now, if you have a private conversation with someone and you say, "Hey, hey, where your ancestors from?" It's like, "Oh yeah, from Italy, whatever. My great grandfather came over here," and well, that's what it is. We've all talked to our coworkers about, "Oh yeah, my mother's German and my dad's Irish or whatever." My dad, my father's Nigerian, my mother's, Jamaican, or something like that, right? We've all had these conversations, but nobody's walking around. I'm Jamaican American, right? I'm Haitian American. It sounds foolish. And again, why would you want to diminish your own birthright? It reminds me of the story of Jacob and Esau. You giving away your birthright for a bowl of porridge for nothing. You're diminishing your ancestors' blood, sweat, and tears, and cries, and contributions to this country by engaging in what I consider to be sacrilege. I would never call myself an African American. If you want to know what my DNA is, I've submitted to use various tests and stuff like that. I know that I have African ancestry, as I should have, and I have other things mixed too. But what I'm saying is that I don't need to walk around like I'm African American. No, I'm American. I grew up here. I'm from New York City. I know where my ancestors, my heritage comes from. But I'm American. I have every right to be. Every right to embrace that. My family members, uncles, grandfather, like I said, even to this day, that fought in the wars, fought in these American conflicts under the flag, for good or bad, whether it's right or wrong. Fought for this country, whatever these countries' goals were. My people, my family members have fought and put hand to plow and worked hard and benefited, right? In this imperfect society. Nobody's saying that society's perfect. Nobody's saying that racism doesn't exist. See, racism is a boogeyman. That's why I made those other videos about the race hustle. Race hustle 101. Always mention race. Always make it about race. That's race hustle 101. Blame everything on race. If you don't get the job, it's because the job is racist. The boss is racist. If you get fired from the job is racist. That's it. You just blame everything on race. That'll keep you from having to look in the mirror and say that you didn't work hard enough. That will keep you from looking in the mirror and say that you were late 200 times out of 300 days in a year. That you always had an excuse for why you weren't on time. Right? That you went past your sick days every year. Right? You only had 5-6 days, but you kept calling in. You did bad. Your customer service was bad. Right? You don't want to look in the mirror and acknowledge those things. So the race hustler comes and say, "Hey, I got a solution for you. It's not you. It's the white man. It's the country. It's the system that's holding you down. Meanwhile, the same system that is holding you down somehow has allowed this person to live luxuriously. Isn't that amazing? Right? We all know about the Black Lives Matter scandal and all the scandals and all that stuff, right? Isn't it amazing that the country that's supposedly holding you down, the system and all that stuff, had provided such a luxurious lifestyle and homes worth millions of dollars to these so-called leaders? It's the same thing with these like financial gurus, right? They're like, I'm gonna give you a system that's gonna teach you how to pick stocks. Now, if you take a minute to think about it, why would somebody making millions of dollars in stocks just say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna be a nice guy, I'm gonna give everyone my personal system and method on how I do it? Because what's gonna happen is that once everybody knows your system, the method is gonna be dead, because you need somebody to lose in order to make money in stocks. So if everybody knows your system and everybody is buying and selling at the same time, how are they gonna make money? Of course they're not gonna make money. But the hustler is making money by selling you the dream, selling you the system. And you go and buy it like an idiot, and of course it doesn't work. You go and lose money. It's the same with the race hustler. The race hustler is selling you a dream, a system. This system is gonna allow you to put all your troubles and woes and blame and problems in life on racism. That's the scapegoat. If you read the Bible, you'll find that the scapegoat was something that was used, right? The whole nation could put their sins onto the scapegoat, and they would sacrifice it to God, and that would cleanse the sins for the people. That's kind of like the origin story of the scapegoat, right? Somebody gotta pay, so we're gonna take all of the collective sins of the nation, put it in this goat. We're gonna sacrifice it to God, and we're gonna get a fresh start. So the scapegoat for you, black people, is racism. No matter what happens, is racist. Right? It's not that you're not qualified for the job. No, it's racist. It's just like you see a lot of these stories, right? There's some kind of bad neighborhood in the background. It's always the same. You pick your hood: Philly, Chicago, Detroit, Brooklyn, Bronx, wherever you want to go. I use my own hometown, Staten Island. Wherever you want to go, right? New Orleans, it's the same story. They'll interview some random guy, and it'd be like some, shooting or something that took place, and somebody asks, what can we do to clean up this neighborhood or make things better? Oh, they need to bring some jobs down here. How many times have you heard that? They need to bring some jobs down here. What does that mean? What do you mean bringing some jobs down here? If I go on monster.com or any of these job sites, Indeed, on the internet right now, there's thousands and thousands of jobs. The question is, are you qualified for the job? How about getting qualified? What do you mean you got to bring some jobs down here? What if somebody came to you today and said, hey, I got a computer programming job for you. It's gonna start out $85,000 a year. You just need to know, JavaScript, Python, C++. I'm naming some old school languages, computer languages, right? But you need to know these things, right? You need to have, certificate, cybersecurity, et cetera, right? How many people out there could apply for the job and have a chance of getting hired? Right? These same people that say, oh, they need to bring jobs down here. That's a victim mentality. What do you mean they need to bring? How they gonna bring jobs? You're not qualified. First of all, and why would somebody start a business in the middle of a war zone? See, these are the real issues, and this is what's unfortunate about it. But again, the scapegoat, racism, covers up everything. That's what's so insidious about it, is that you will not deal with the issues, the underlying issues. Why is your neighborhood bad? Oh, it's racism. right? The effects of slavery, effects of Jim Crow. They had a head start. They took everything. They own all the businesses. They own everything. We don't have nothing. This is why we kill each other today, right? Of course, it doesn't make sense, but that's basically where it leads to. How many times have you heard the story, right? You get the like it'd be like some lady or something, and she's talking about how much she's struggling, but she got like 5 kids running around in the background. Talking about she's struggling to make ends meet. Baby father nowhere to be found, right? But she's struggling. Or even if the father is there, first of all, doesn't it make sense that if you don't have your finances together, that you would slow down on the kids? Maybe concentrate on something else instead of concentrating on the buns. Doesn't that make sense? That's what intelligent people do. That's what God-fearing people do. And that's what I like about the Bible. The Bible is like a very simple book. Even if you're not that religious, if you follow like this, the advice, the secular advice of the Bible, you'll make out all right with little education. Just following like this. Like for instance, if you're a young man and you're looking for a wife, right, and you want to have kids, you go to the book of Proverbs and just read what it says about the type of woman that you want to have and what type of woman to avoid. Just go read the book of Proverbs. And all you got to do is update the language, of course, because the language, of course, is from those times, from thousands of years ago. But use your brain and imagination and just, it talks about a virtuous woman and things like that. All you got to do is upgrade the language. Update the language. It's a very simple book. Just follow the principles. It does the same with finance. It's all there in the Bible. So even if you don't really know about finance and all that stuff like that, and you just take time to read that book, you can learn a lot of stuff and just save yourself a lot of trouble. So a lot of this stuff getting put on racism and stuff like that, that's brainwashing. You've been brainwashed because, first of all, your education level is low. So therefore, you're susceptible to being tricked and manipulated very easily by the hustlers. All right. I felt that needed to be mentioned because, like I said, that's a big deal to me, that whole African American, because all it does is that terminology just separates the people that I feel have as much right as anyone else to be here. Why? That's how I always looked at it like that. Why would we want to alienate ourselves from a place that we rightfully should be at? We are as American as anyone here. It's kind of like being at a job for 30 years and then a new person gets hired at the job and then we say, yeah, we don't really, we only work part-time here. We're not really part of the job, part of the company. Like you work for the company, but, kind of like a temp. But I've been there 30 years. You're like, I'm just a temp. You work here. You here. This is your job. This is not really mine. I'm not really part of this company. I'm a contractor, matter of fact. Right? Again, no one else is doing that for good reason. Many of these foreigners come here, you name it, Vietnam, Laos, and they come in here and they want to embrace the country because they know what it is. They came from places where it's worse. A lot of them, they changed their names, right? Because they want to they're trying to fit in. What we're doing, and then I say believe me, I'm not all of us, because all of us don't agree with this nonsense, but I'm just using this for just clarity and just to expedite things. What we're doing as black people is we're trying to fit out, right? A lot of these people, like, you ever go to the gas station and you'll see the like the Sikhs, right, with the turbans on their head, or even like some Indians, right? And you look at the name tag, and the name tag will say like Mike or, or something like that, right? Or Steve. And you know damn well that's not the guy's his real name. His name probably has like 12 letters, because that's, their culture. He probably has 13 letters in the name. But no, they're trying to fit in. They want they're embracing that they're Americanists. They're not like walking around, I'm Indian American, I'm Vietnamese American. No, they look at the name tag. It's like Steve Williams or whatever, Mike Smith. They picked the most American name they can get, right? John Johnson, because they want to be a part of. That's the spirit. They want to get behind the wagon and push. Black people don't want to push the wagon no more. They want to step and walk on the side of the wagon. It's like they still want to be a part of, but say they're not. And that's the problem I have. It's like, listen, if you believed like, Nation of Islam back in the 1960s, and the Ballad of the Bullet speech by Malcolm X, right? Where he said, we want separation, not integration. He talked about the cup of coffee when you add the milk and it gets lighter and all that stuff like that. If you believe that, that's one thing. That's when you open your own school. You have the Black national anthem there. You have the Black Pledge of Allegiance there, etc. Right? You go all the way with it. You don't be a part of the Super Bowl, right, which is a white event, and then you're like, yeah, we're gonna do all this stuff. We're gonna sing the Black national anthem there. Because you know what that screams to me? It all screams to me is white liberalism. Because when I know that that's who controls it, right? Like, look at the owners here. You think that they would want anything that they did not agree with on that field? A lot of people on social media talking about, oh, you got to read between the lines, right? I'm going to talk about Kendrick Lamar now a little bit. Like, oh, you got to read between the lines. Kendrick Lamar was making a statement, this and that, and all this stuff, right? And then, of course, it's the typical divide and conquer because, again, in America, everything has to be broken down by race. So if you go on Facebook, any social media, or a lot of the country people, fans are, oh, this was the worst Super Bowl performance. Then the black people, no, this was a great Super Bowl performance. You didn't understand this and that. Basically, listen, man, if you like hip hop and rap and all that stuff like that, you probably thought the performance was dope, right? Serena Williams doing the crip walk and all that stuff. You probably thought it was dope. If you're not a hip hop fan, or if you like 50 years old and a 60 years old white person, you probably didn't like it. It don't have to be racism. It's just something that's not part of your culture. I grew up in New York when hip hop was first starting, so I seen the evolution, watched the evolution of it. And I'm still a big hip hop fan. I listen to all kind of music though. I listen to rock, I listen to country, I listen to jazz, classical, everything, but some people don't do that. Some people aren't built like that. They like what they like. Right? Everything don't have to be racist. But again, people are like, oh, Kendrick Lamar was making fun of the president and all this stuff. Like, it's like, listen, man. At the end of the day, there's nothing that happened on that field that's not controlled. Believe that. See, the same people that's saying, oh, this person is sending out secret messages or sending out messages and making statements, right? They're the same person that say that, oh, the game was rigged. So they're going to rig the game, right? They're going to take time to rig the game, but then they're going to let a 37-year-old, how old is Kendrick Lamar? I think 37, 36, 37, right? They're going to let a 37-year-old, 5'5" black man get on there and protest the country and do all this type of stuff without their knowledge. Give me a. Why don't you wake up, man? You that stupid? All that stuff is controlled. You ever heard of controlled opposition? Right? There's different controlled opposition could be a number of things, but one of it is basically protest movements that are led by government agents, right? Because it gives you the illusion that somebody is speaking out on your behalf, right? But of course, nothing substantive ever happens. It's just a lot of talk and win, and you clap and get emotional, right? It's just like at the Grammys when these celebrities get up and they talk about all these issues. Nothing ever happens. They don't care like that. It's just something to say, right? Somebody put somebody that you don't see behind the scenes, put the battery in their back and yeah, speak on that. Say this, say that, right? Yeah, you got our permission. Yeah, go ahead. They know what the result is going to be. They know it's going to be more tension between black and white people. So if you're an elite class of people and you want to keep the people constantly disunited in the lower economic classes, you always got to give them something to fight over. So you know what we fight over? We fight over race, right? Oh, black people, white people don't like black people. Black people don't like white. We fight over that constantly, right? We fight over feminism, right? This girl for the streets, right? She on OnlyFans, right? The feminism got the whole everything messed up because again, break down the family, all that stuff. Like everything's connected, right? We fighting over the LGBTQ. So while we fighting down here in the bottom over these issues, power is being consolidated, being gathered and consolidated at the top in the elite levels. That's all that's going on. Speaking of controlled opposition, go back in your minds, if you will, to when Trayvon Martin, the Trayvon Martin situation happened, and then you had these NBA players deciding to wear the hoodies and all that stuff. You think that was like something they thought of? Like they was like, yeah, we're gonna make our statement now. Or do you think that was something that was just contrived and given to them, and they were told protest in this way? You see what I'm saying? This is controlled opposition. And again, what was the result of that? Did the killing stop with Trayvon Martin? No, right? Something else happened after that. Something else, and we move on, right? After all that protesting with George Floyd and all that stuff, then you had the next situation and then some leader air quotes, right? Because they never not elected. It's just somebody that's pushed up, right? Who's pushing the person to the forefront, right? Who's picking your quote unquote black leader that you love so much? Who's giving them the media exposure and the money and stuff like that and allowing it? Who put Jesse Jackson back in the day? Who put Al Sharpton? Who put all these guys and say, yeah, these are the black leaders? Nowadays, who's speaking, right? The D.L. Hugleys of the world, the Roland, who put these dudes in the forefront, right? If you don't understand these things, you have to read and research about COINTELPRO. It's not always the person that's speaking directly against you that's your enemy. Sometimes the person that's saying exactly what you want to hear. At the end of the day, you got to look at the results. If nothing's ever happening, nothing ever changes, no legislation, no bills, no nothing. It's just a bunch of nonsense. It's just rhetoric just to make you feel good. It's like when you go to church and the preacher make you feel good, right? You still got the bills to pay, but that Sunday you feel good. The preacher got that old Southern black style preaching. He's like, God is a provider. You got to do that part right there. And the organ is playing in the background and drum. Those ghetto churches. God is a provider. Doctor in the sick room. Lawyer in the courtroom. Y'all don't hear me? Right? You feel good. So you can get home, the bill's still there. Lights are still turned off. You got to face reality. You step out of heaven, you got to face reality. Back on earth again. But on a serious note, it's kind of like when Malcolm X had said about Martin Luther King about the march on Washington. Remember that being subsidized.
Rights of the American Negro. What is your attitude toward this philosophy?
The white man pays Reverend Martin Luther King, subsidizes Reverend Martin Luther King, so that Reverend Martin Luther King can continue to teach the Negroes to be defenseless. That's what you mean by nonviolent. Be defenseless. Be defenseless in the face of one of the most cruel beasts that has ever taken the people into captivity. That's this American white man. And they have proved it throughout the country by the police dogs and the police clubs. 100 years ago, they used to put on a white sheet and use a bloodhound against Negroes. Today, they have taken off the white sheet and put on police uniforms. They've traded in the bloodhounds for police dogs, and they're still doing the same thing. And just as Uncle Tom, back during slavery, used to keep the Negroes from resisting the bloodhound or resisting the Ku Klux Klan by teaching them to love their enemy or pray for those who use them despitefully. Today, Martin Luther King is just a 20th century or modern Uncle Tom or a religious Uncle Tom who is doing the same thing today to keep Negroes defenseless in the face.
So basically, again, this is an example of controlled opposition. Of course, this is Malcolm X before he, left the Nation of Islam, but this is an example of controlled opposition. So basically, he's saying, hey, Martin Luther King is telling you the things that you want to hear, right? In other words, turn the other cheek, right? Using your religious, your religious beliefs, which is definitely strong work, because a lot of us have deep religious beliefs, right? That open the Bible, right? I just mentioned the Bible, right? It's about turning the other cheek, right? Pray for those who spitefully use you. These are all scriptures that can be pointed to. So if you have this deep belief in Christianity or anything else, these things can be used to get you to do, what that person wants you to do. So if that person has nefarious, ideas, you'll be in for, some rainy days ahead. And of course, this happens. We always hear about various preacher scandals and things of that nature. But, basically, when Malcolm mentions that Dr. King is being subsidized and supported, by the white establishment, he's making a really scathing indictment here. And that's what I'm trying to tell you about, like, these events, right? If you add an event that is ran, by quote unquote the establishment, right? I showed you the NFL owners. We all know who controls that. And it's like the Black National Anthem there. Kendrick Lamar is performing. He's allowed to, do all of this, signaling, if we want to say. People are like, oh, you need to read behind him what he was trying to say, and with Samuel Jackson and all that stuff like that, right? You got to understand, he's being allowed to do that. For what reason? See, at the end of the day, what's the reason? What's been the outcome? All you got to look at is the outcome. The outcome is people arguing back and forth, going back and forth, debating, white people mad at black people. Oh, how dare you have the Black National Anthem, this and that. See, they know what the outcome is going to be. They know that's going to create a feeling of alienation and separation. Right? If I'm American, why would I want to have like some side, like another anthem? Like, it don't make sense. It's like being married and then you got a mistress on the side. Well, the wife is not gonna be too happy with that, right? You know what I'm saying? So America, you have America, and then it's like you're like, well, I'm not happy with America, so I'm not happy with America, so I have like my own country within a country, right? And again, don't conflate this with rejecting your own history or not loving yourself culture, because listen, all those cultures I mentioned, Asian culture, Spanish, right? If you go to these people's homes, right, Polish or whatever, you go to their homes, you'll see that they have a good grasp on who they are, where they came from. They know their history, etc. the difference is that when we're out in public, when we're going to work, when we're carrying ourselves, we are Americans, right? We understand where we came from. We teach our children, our sons and daughters, the history, give them the literature that they need to understand and read. But at the end of the day, we are Americans. And that's the main point that I'm trying to make, or that I feel like I have made very effectively. I want to say one more thing about Kendrick Lamar. Actually, let me let this Malcolm X clip finish, and then I'm gonna say another thing about Kendrick Lamar. And again, I have nothing against Kendrick Lamar. My problem is against my problem lies in what people have allowed themselves to get sucked into.
Of a fact that Uncle Tom did on the plantation to keep those Negroes defenseless in the face of the attacks of the Klan in that day.
But the goal of Dr. King is full.
That's I believe that's Wyatt T. Walker, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
And full rights of citizenship for Negroes.
The goal of Dr. Martin Luther King is to give Negroes a chance to sit in a segregated restaurant beside the same white man who had brutalized them for 400 years. The goal of Dr. Martin Luther King is to get Negroes to forgive the people who have brutalized them for 400 years by lulling them to sleep and making them forgetting what those whites have done to them. But the masses of black people in America today don't go for what Martin Luther King is putting down. As you said in one of your articles, it's psychologically insecure, something of that sort. I forget how you put it. But you didn't endorse what Martin Luther King was doing yourself.
I do not reject his goals of full integration and full equality rights for American citizens. Do you reject these goals?
If you don't think that he's walking on the right road, I'm quite sure you don't agree that he'll get to the right place. And if you would classify his method as psychologically unrealistic, I think that if a man's method is psychologically unrealistic, which means the road or the means or the method that he's using, I think as a psychologist, you'd be very doubtful that he would reach the right goal.
There is one correction, Minister Malcolm, I'd like to make here. In that same piece that you're quoting from, I said that his methods are effective. His philosophy of love, of the oppressor, I thought, was psychologically burdensome.
So back to Kendrick Lamar. I want to bring up one more thing about that. Hold on. All right. So Kendrick Lamar is signed to a Universal Music Group. Well, Interscope Records, but Interscope is owned by Universal Music Group. And again, I want to, show this man right here is Lucian Grange, who is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of UMG Music Group. And these are the bosses, man. These are the guys that are behind the scenes, right? That okay, these artists, to perform certain places, and basically, if this guy says no, then it's no, right? That's how much power these guys have. So don't get it twisted and think that these guys are being autonomous. See, that's the illusion of everything. You think that these guys are just, he's making a statement. He's not making any statement. They're fully controlled. And I'm not even saying that's bad or good. I'm not putting a good or bad label on it. But I'm saying what it is. People think that these artists are out there making statements or making some kind of political protest on their own accord, and they're just free and they're standing up for something. That's all an illusion to make you like them even more. It's all a game. Like, look, he stood his ground against such and such. So now when he dropped the next album, you definitely getting that. Right? Oh, look, Drake sued him. So therefore, they going back and forth. Meanwhile, these guys sit in the background. Right? This a guy you probably never heard of. This is the CFO. Right? And executive vice president. That's the number 2 man right there. Chief financial officer. Boyd Mayer. Right? He probably can't rap or nothing like that. Or sing or anything. These are the dudes behind the strings. So don't give me this whole dudes making a statement, or you got to read between the lines what he was saying, and he's signaling this and that. He trying to let people know about America and Donald Trump, this and that. None of that means anything to me, because I know who is behind him. You know what happens to guys that get out of line at that level? I know you're all saying yes, because how many examples do we need? Do we have to bring up Bill Cosby? Do we have to bring up R. Kelly? Do we have to bring up the Harvey Weinsteins of the world? The Epsteins of the world? The P. Diddy's of the world? You get out of line, you do what you want to do, and it's not sanctioned. That's what happens. That's what happens. Everything everything start moving against you. First it looked like everything is going your way. All of a sudden, the news stories break out. Right? You could tell when they getting ready to bring somebody down. The news stories start breaking out. All of a sudden, now everybody mad at Drake. Cause you all brainwashed, right? Now everybody mad at Drake. Right? Some information that's come out that before wasn't allowed to come out. Now it's out. You think these type of guys don't know? You think these type of dudes don't have the goods? You think these dudes don't know that Diddy is doing his thing and doing whatever, You gotta understand too, a lot of this stuff is black on black. So it's kind of like, and dudes don't care, man. It's like, as long as you doing it to another black artist or whatever, Meek Mills or whatever you doing, Cuba Gooding Jr., who was the producer name that filed a lawsuit, or Cassie or something. As long as you doing it to your own people, man, it's like, yeah, you good. Just keep making us money, man. Just keep making I Need a Girl. Keep making them songs, Keep making them songs. I don't wanna know if she's playing me. Just keep making them hits, man. That's it. Keep dancing. Get us another Mace. That's it. Well, you stepped on wrong toes. You went up. Oh, you want to go up against the our brothers, that big vodka company, that big alcohol district. Oh, you want to go up against our people? Oh, we got something for you. Now we gonna show you what power really looks like. You're gonna shut the lights off. So anyway, that's all I gotta say today about this topic. I might return to it. Like I said, man, this whole African American thing, let's get rid of that terminology. It's super whack. Like I said, if I'm wrong, man, get in the comment box. Please hit the like button too, subscribe. But if I'm wrong, get in the comment box. Tell me why African American is the appropriate term to use. Like I said, I feel like, again, black people have as much I don't want to say more America, then people get all offended like, oh, I'm American, Listen, we had the rights to as much as anyone else. Definitely put in the most work can't be taken away. That can't be disputed. If you say who put in the most work in building the country, you, you can't take that away. That's documented. That's documented. You know? So that term, man, get rid of that term. That's the other thing. One more, that's what it was. I'm glad it popped in my mind again. Like I said, Black National Anthem, again, it creates a separate, like, what are you in a separate country or something? You know, it's crazy, right? I remember, it's funny, man, how stuff like it used to be. I remember I forgot what a award show it was. It was some kind of Grammys from back in the day. I gotta look the video up. They had a section. I think it was in the music award show. They had a section for black. I gotta look this up. Hold on one second. I'm gonna find this for you guys. I think it was for best black song or something crazy like that. Hold on. Oh, here it is right here. I found a clip. So it's Lionel Richie. Sorry for the quality. It's from 1985 American Music Awards. That's Lionel Richie when he had the he had the Jerry curls by this time. But back in the 70s, man, he had some afro on him, man. He had that like triangle afro. That was crazy.
In addition to their many hits, they're still celebrating their 25th year of entertaining the world with their unique brand of music. Ladies and gentlemen, to present the award for favorite black single, here are Janie Fricke and the Beach Boys.
So that's wild right there. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit, but notice the name of the category, right? the best black single. So this is the type of stuff like that used to get thrown out there. Like, if you think about how ignorant that sounds, like, why do you need a black single? You know, but it's, again, America is obsessed and founded on like this, obsessed with race. Like, it's been interjected like crack in the veins of America. It's like everything is about race. But back in those days, it was like, it was just everywhere. Like, so you wouldn't even think twice. Oh, black single. But at the end, music is music, right? So of course you have genres. So you have, like, you know, rock and disco, rap, stuff like that. But to break it down to race, like a black single, right? But again, it's always black and white, right? You don't hear like, best Asian single or best white single. Is black. Best black single. Like, yes, the Negro music. Let's put the Negro music in a special category. Those Negroes with all of the drumming and bungling around and popping and breaking. We need a black single category. Alright, check it out. Hold on.
And now, let's see what record will make it as favorite black single.
Wow.
The nominees are
Billy Ocean.
Queen, No More
Y'all don't know
Lovin' On,
about that.
Billy
Y'all don't
Ocean.
know about that. It was Tina with the wild hair. That's after Ike. That's after the Ike Turner days, though. She recovered.
What's love got to do with it?
See, Prince ain't having it, man. You know what? You know why Prince look like that? You know why Prince looks like that, man? Because he is not feeling that category. He knows. Listen, the dude was ahead of his time. Prince, you gotta, Prince was like Hendrix, man, as far as like being ahead of his time. Prince knew that was a whack category, the black single category. Prince is like, yo, my music is for everyone. I'm an artist, you know what I mean? I'm an artist. Like, my music is for everybody. Why would you put a great artist like that, the black singer? That's like taking like Beethoven and be like, let's put Beethoven in the white single category. Like, you know what I mean? This guy's a great artist. That's why he looks like. That's my interpretation. He's just like, man, like, this is wild. That's the look. What do y'all think, man? Y'all tell me what his face is saying right there in the comments box. Let's see who won though. This is 85 though, so I'm gonna say Prince.
When Doves Cry.
Yeah. Because Prince was so strong. That's in the Purple Rain era. Darling Nikki, all of
And
that.
the winner is.
Let me see.
Let's see what happens here, huh? When Doves Cry,
See?
Prince.
Yeah, Prince was dominating at that time. Because Michael Jackson Bad, I think it was the next year, like 86 or something like that. So, yeah, that was wild. You got the Bodyguard with Prince with the little steps. You know?
Thank you very much.
Humility. Thank you. That's it. So anyway, I just wanted to share that clip with y'all, man, with the black single, single section. But like I said, when you divide everything up in the race, black this, black that, it's like it creates the idea that somehow you're not a part of the whole. Cause it's an act of separation, and I'm hoping that you can see it clear with that example. It's like it's a whole separate music or something, musical category like black single. There's nothing else was segregated out. There was no like white single, Latino single, I don't know, Chinese single. It was like blacks over here, like basically like colored bathroom, black entrance. It's the same thing. No, you put it all together. You just had the general genre music. You have R&B music. Listen, if a white dude come into R&B, and sing, and he sound good, and he wins that section, hey, so be it. Right? When Eminem became popular, right? Again, a lot of people try to make it about race, but they didn't create a category. They didn't say, you know what, the best white hip hop single. That would have been crazy, right? And then say they had like Eminem. Who else was white rapping? Vanilla Ice, Everlast, right, from House of Pain. I don't know who else white dude I could throw in there. Action Bronson. Some right? Imagine that they had the best white hip hop single. Right, basically separate them dudes from from hip hop. Like, it's like you're not in hip hop. You out here, you best white hip hop single. That's the same thing in reverse, right? You have the best black single. That's ridiculous. And like I said, to me, that's the same way I feel when I hear these terms like African American. Oh, we're gonna sing the Black National Anthem. And please don't get on here and say, oh, you don't know the history of the national anthem, and they took out a verse, this and that. It was all this stuff like that. We know the history. We know the history. That history does not make you any less American. The fact is they tried to take your Americanness from you when you earn the right to be an American. But your ancestors, the people that came before you, whether you agree with them or not, the Dr. Kings, the Malcolm X's, the Garveys, all of these different people, the Du Bois, W.E.B. Du Bois, the Booker T. Washingtons, the Frederick, all of these guys had different viewpoints, right? Sometimes they clashed, they fought each other on different issues and things like that. But at the end of the day, the collective dial was moved, and all these people fought for your recognition to be maintained, upheld. So now you're gonna come in the 21st century and say, you know what, I'm not American. Imagine you worked for something and you built up a company, and you did all this stuff, and then you just walked away and let somebody else have all the benefits of it after you worked and toiled, build that company up from nothing. Right? Just think about it's like being in a bad marriage, right? You got with your wife, right? You worked hard, you eventually acquired some wealth, you got your 401k built up. Next thing you know, she divorces you, kicks you out the house, you lose the house, you lose all your stuff, and she has everything. That's what it's like when you turn down you deny your American heritage. It's basically all the stuff that your ancestors worked on, build those ancestors that you know and that you don't know. All the things they fought for, worked for, and built up in this country. All the inventions that were made by black scientists, all the achievements, all the stuff like that. You basically saying, hey, you guys that are here in America and you guys that will continue to come to America and benefit off this great nation, yeah, you guys can have that. You know what? I'm not a part of this anymore. I want to be a part of something else, which we don't know what that is, but somehow, like I said, that's why I liken it to not pushing the cart. You just want to walk on side of the cart because you really don't want to go anywhere else, but you just want to complain about being here, even though you can't find a better place to be. And again, that's not saying that you should just accept every wrong and stuff like that. That's part of what makes the country great, is that people are always striving to make things better, right? But there's a way to make things better without tearing things down. And I don't think separating yourself, calling yourself African American, calling yourself having black national anthem at the Super Bowl, ridiculous, right? And the third point that I wanted to make is Black History Month, since we're in February. Another ridiculous atrocity is forced on the majority of black people, right? Everybody's seen the famous Morgan Freeman interview where he says, I don't want a Black History Month. Do you guys need to see that? I'm sure you've all seen it already. You already know where it's going. You see Morgan Freeman's face, he got that Negro please face on right now. Like, what is he going to ask right now? He got that, he ready to crush everything in sight. Check it out.
Black History Month you find
ridiculous.
Why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, well, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Oh. By the way, which has nothing to do with it. You see how he switched it to a religion. Now he says he's Jewish. It's like, what does that have anything to do? But you can see how uncomfortable the interviewer is, because he knows that it's Black History Month is a bunch of BS. See, he was expecting Morgan Freeman to be like, oh, this is great. We get a chance to be recognized and all the achievements that haven't been mentioned in the textbooks, and he was expecting that. So when Morgan Freeman went off the script, now he don't have an answer, and it turns to, I'm Jewish. You're still white. You just happen to be Jewish. Because there are also black Jews. Did you guys know that? See, just think about it before you reject.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it.
Again, what did he just say? Black history is American history. You see what I'm saying? Stop trying to make it something different. It's all tied together. It's not a separate, like, black history. When you talk about Thomas Edison, you got to talk about Lattimore. Like, they ain't. I'm sorry, I said Lattimore. I'm thinking about the singer, the Lattimore, Latimer. You know what I mean? It's all tied together. this idea, Black History Month. Why is it, again, just think about it to yourself. Why is it Black History Month? Where's the other months? Is it Latino History Month? Chinese, Asian History Month? It's always a black, white thing. That's why I say it's a hustle. It's the race hustle to constantly keep you focused, especially in this country, to keep you focused on race and all the time. All the time. So that you will never, as a black person, you will never get anywhere constantly focused on race unless you're a race hustler. Now, if you're a race hustler, you're going to get somewhere focused on race. You just constantly point out anything. Anytime the slightest infraction happens, you follow the Al Sharpton blueprint and make sure that you at every, perceived racial event. And, of course, you got to have some talent. You got to have that, be able to preach and be able to draw people. Black people in church call it the anointing. You have to have that it factor, right? To be a good race hustler. You got to be able to rhyme a little bit, like Jesse Jackson used to do. You got to be able to say from slave ships to championships, stuff like that. From the outhouse to the White House. You got to be able to say those type of things, so that the people are drawn and attracted to him. Oh, he's talking, he's saying something. Let's see how he finishes this song.
I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman.
And that's it right there. Very, very simple. Nothing, it's not rocket science.
We have to make up our minds. Either we want to have segregation or integration. And if we don't want segregation, then we need to get rid of channels like BET and the BET Awards and the Image Awards, where you're only awarded if you're black.
So that's basically how I feel about Black History Month. Also, but like I said, it's all the same stuff, you know what I mean? Whether it's that term African American, Black History Month, etc. It's this kind of these race baiting terms, right? Black National Anthem, stuff like that, where, again, I don't agree with everything, Miss Dash said, obviously, but maybe it's not so obvious, but I don't agree with everything that she said there. But what I do agree with is the part that she actually said exactly what I said earlier, that listen, if you want to be segregation again, you go back to the what Elijah Muhammad was preaching about back in the day, then so be it. But if you're gonna do that, then do it. Don't be like all mixed in the culture, but then you're gonna be like, oh, hey, here's a Black National Anthem. It's just like if you say, it's just like anything else. It's like people come into this country, right? And then they like wave like other flags in the country. It's like, well, if we understand you're proud of where you came from, the thing is that, again, if you're so happy with that environment, the first thing people are going to say is, well, you should be there. Why would you come to this country and then wave a different flag? Like, are Americans going to these other countries, England and France and, South American stuff, and waving American flags and protesting in their streets? No, because they don't have the freedom to do it over there. Many of those countries, they'll be locked up indefinitely without any kind of Bill of Rights or trial by law. See, in America, it's spoiled. People always get, they get arrested by the cops. Oh, you're violating my constitutional rights. People are bold. In them other countries, man, the police will just knock your head off. Or you just end up missing or something like that. Not the same. See, over here, we take everything for granted. But anyway, I digress. Again, man, the Black History Month, that gotta go too. You can teach your children history. but it's American history, you know. I can talk about the Einstein or whoever, right? And then I can say in the same breath, and Matthew Henson, happens to be a black guy, was an important contribution and may have even discovered the North Pole, but wasn't given credit due, right? I can mention Lewis Latimer, right? I don't have to wait till Black History Month. Why can't I? So you mean after Black History Month is over, I can't talk about any black achievements, scientific achievements? I can't talk about Mae Jemison being the first black woman in outer space. I can't talk about that. It's March. It's too late. Is that it? It's ridiculous. It's absurd. Like when you take a moment to step back and think about how ridiculous it is, and you take that mental cancer of racism out of your mind, and you really see how ridiculous it is. Check out this.
Defense agency is banning events such as Black History Month and other special observances. The Pentagon's intelligence arm, for example, will no longer celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Women's History Month, and Pride Month. WREG's Alex Coleman tells why some retired military leaders in Memphis are blasting the Pentagon's decision to comply with President Trump's executive orders.
Reaction pouring in on the latest move from the White House. In response to President Trump's executive order banning diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, the Pentagon's intelligence agency has paused special event programs and related events. Representative Karen Camper of Memphis is the Tennessee House Minority Leader.
Well, first, Alice, let me say this.
Notice it said Democrat next to the name, so you already know the angle that's going to be pushed. And again, I don't believe, and before people start ranting about that, I don't believe in the whole left-right thing. I believe it's the same. If you listen to my other videos, I believe it's just the flip side of the same coin. Just like you have heads and tails, Democrat, Republican, one's fox, one's a wolf, don't matter. It's all depending on you. You know what I mean? If you don't go out there, if you don't work hard, you don't do what you got to do, if you don't put your faith in God, or if you want to call high power, whatever, you're not gonna do well. If you depending on these politicians to change your life, give you a better life, somehow take care of you and all that stuff like that, you're already lost. You're already lost. All you got to do is see that they're doing well in this country. Here's a black lady, right? She's Tennessee representative in the South, House Minority Leader, Democrat, Memphis. So obviously she has a nice position, probably nice home, all that stuff like that. That means you can do well too. That's all you need to know. You're a young black woman, black man. That means you could do well too. Ask her, how did you do it? What school did you go to? What kind of education did you pursue? And I'm sure she'll be happy to tell you. Don't fall into the nonsense thinking you need some kind of special program. You never even heard of DEI until a couple of years ago. So now everybody, oh my God, they're getting rid of DEI. You never needed it in the first place. It's ridiculous. It's all brainwashing. But anyway, continue.
I'm disappointed, number one, but I'm actually not surprised because this president pretty much told us that these are the kinds of things that he would do.
The affected events include the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. birthday, Black History Month, Women's History Month, Holocaust Day and Days of Remembrance, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, LGBT Pride Month, Juneteenth, Women's Equality Day, National Hispanic Heritage Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and National American Indian Heritage Month.
I was trying to pause it on these, but again, the nonsense. Again, this is a non-issue. It's good that get rid of all that day so these dudes can concentrate on doing what they're supposed to do. Is working, gathering intelligence, whatever they're supposed to do at the Pentagon. Why do you need a whole month? Again, it's about the divide and conquer. Why do you need a whole month dedicated to Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month? What country are you going to? I bet you if you go to those countries in the Pacific, they don't even have those type of months set aside for things like that. But only in America, you gotta have 50 different things because you gotta try to please every little. And this is definitely a symptom of the whole woke culture. You gotta have a little special piece of cake cut for every little single group. So LGBT pride, they need their little spot. There's not enough months. We're gonna have to add more months to the calendar. We have 12, right? We're gonna have to add more to fit every group because I'm sure there's some groups left out. Right? You got Black History Month, Women's History Month, Holocaust Day, and Days of Remembrance. Okay, so they get a day and Days of Remembrance. Right? What is that, like a weekend and Tuesday or something? I don't know. Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, LGBT Pride Month. Then you got Juneteenth. Again, unnecessary. Women's Equality. So you have Women's History Month, but now you gotta have Women's Equality Day. So now you got a day of equality. What about the other days though? Are they not equal on those days? National Hispanic Heritage Month. Right? National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Right? National Disability Employment Awareness Month. National American Indian Heritage Month. Right? I'm sure there's some groups left out. Right? What about the Autism Awareness Month? Where those people? What about the Cancer Survivors Awareness Month? See, you could keep going on and on with the divide and conquer because there's always going to be somebody not represented. That's what the gimmick is with all of this. So now they're trying to make a big deal. Oh, the president is pausing these special events. Yes, as it should be, they should be gotten rid of. It's a waste of money. They should be gotten rid of. You can't have a special award ceremony for every single situation that exists. That's why you have one flag to represent all the people. Like the people came over here, Statue of Liberty, and they said, okay, we're all Americans now. They understood like we can't all do our separate thing in the public space. Yes, when you go home, you could say, yes, Juan, Pablo, yes, we're from Venezuela. This is where grandma came from. Yes, this is our type of food. Don't worry. We speak the language at home, etc., etc. A lot of people do that. They speak their language at home, but then when they get in public, they speak the language of the country, of the nation. They speak English when they get out there. They don't go out there and be like, "Oh, screw you! I'm gonna bring my culture out into the street," and then it creates division. Everybody's divided. Okay, I'm bring my flag. You bring your flag, right? And you know what that does? That just makes the nation weak. It makes the nation right for an outsider to come in and conquer. If you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. How many years have you lived without having Juneteenth? But now you crying about it. Give me a break. Of course, people will take a day off when they could get one, but that's a different topic altogether. But that's the whole point, is that all of these things separate you. See, when you have LGBT Pride Month, right? That separates the LGBT from the people who are not, right? If you have Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, that separates that, okay, Asian American Pacific Islanders, right? Same with Black History Month. It gives the feeling like, hey, these they're American, but not really. They're hyphenated American, African American. So anyway, that's enough for the rant. Please get in the comments. Like I said, this is not a right or wrong. These are just some opinions. Again, I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys what you think about it. I know there's a lot of people that claim, Democrat, or they, racism is ubiquitous and everywhere and all this stuff like that. This is the last point I'll actually make about the racism actually in this video. Is I'll say this: racism is like a boogeyman. Racism actually it's a symptom. It's a hate symptom, and hate is always gonna be with mankind. These are just certain things that will always exist. You can't legislate it out, right? You can't educate it out. There's no way. You're always gonna have some kind of hatred. Even if people look exactly alike, they'll find a reason to go to war with each other. We saw this in Europe, right? During the World War II, World War I, right? People look just alike. They fight each other. We saw it during the Civil War because there's always going to be an issue. There's always going to be something, right? Whether it's religion, Catholics fighting the Protestants, right? The Jews fighting the Catholics fighting against the Jews, right? The Christians fighting against the Muslims, right? So even if the people look alike, they'll find something, right? Even in the same religion, right? So you have under the umbrella of Christianity, Catholics fight Protestants. Then you have factions in the Muslim community, right? You have the Sunni, right? And the Shia, like different sects of that, different sects of Judaism, etc., etc. People always gonna fight each other. I'm not saying it's right. It's just a symptom of the human condition. You'll always be. Yes, you can teach about it. You can talk about it. It's always gonna be there. So this idea of thinking that somehow by pointing it out all the time and blaming everything on it is somehow gonna eradicate or eliminate, right? Is you're just chasing the boogeyman. You're chasing a ghost, and you're actually hindering your own purpose, because instead of focusing on your purpose and what you're trying to do, you're focused on what somebody thinks about you, right? Instead of just trying to be the best you can be, you're focused on, man, is that guy racist? Are they racist? Do they like me? I better act this way or they're not going to like me, or, right? You're concentrating on that instead of just worrying about being the best version of yourself that you can be and trusting God, right? If you do believe in God or a God, then there shouldn't be anything that you feel that can stop you, right? Some racist person shouldn't be able to stop you, right? God's gonna make a way if you believe in that. There's gonna be a way, right? And it's not like it was back in the day. You had people like lined up in front of the school building like, don't come in this school. You can't work here. You can't come here. Now it's a situation where people are destroying themselves, choosing not to educate themselves. Right? Doing all the things that destroy a society. Deciding and glorifying the broken household. Having the high crime rate and then trying to blame it on racism. Ridiculous. Doing all the things that would destroy any society and then expect to be successful as a group. Thinking somehow that politicians gonna save you. Not hard work, not ingenuity, not educating themselves, right? Because at the end of the day, you need somebody that knows how to build a house, knows how to do plumbing, knows how to fix a car, knows how to be an engineer, doctor, etc. Encourage your kids to do that. Every kid doesn't have to be Deion Sanders in sports, right? There's practical things that you can do today. Stop encouraging your kids to pursue sports and athletics, things that only 1% of 1% of 1% of the super elite are gonna achieve. It's like playing a lotto. You putting all your money on that thing, only to be disappointed when you find that it did not win. Play the high percentage game. Lawyers, doctors, automobile mechanics, train operators, crane operators, engineers, etc., computer programmers, things that will build a society. And stop with all the nonsense. This is all distraction. Oh, we didn't get a Grammy this year. I don't know why they ain't giving us no Grammys. Why do you care? They racist. They ain't give us no Grammys. Who cares? Anyway, that's enough rambling from now. Please get in the comment section. I do want to hear what y'all got to say about this Black National Anthem, African American, Black History Month, Kendrick Lamar. Like we covered a lot of little things here. So again, for those of you who've been around a long time, appreciate the support. I will try to make some more videos. But again, please hit the thumbs up button, like, subscribe, all the stuff that everybody always asks y'all to do. Like I said, again, I try to read all you guys' comments, whether you agree with me or disagree. I just like having a conversation and seeing where what people think. So I don't get offended at any of the comments. Like I read them. Some people say ignorant stuff, but I just look at it. Sometimes I have a good laugh actually. So let me know what you think, because that's really what I'm looking for, is to see how people are feeling out there about these things, and in response to what I'm saying. So with that, hope all of y'all have a great rest of your evening, and I'll definitely see y'all on the next video.